Hello, I'm Bob Weir, and I write for the Cross Timbers Gazette, and also doing videos now for the Cross Timbers Gazette and for other outlets as well. And today I'm here with Richard and Jeannie Yerxa of Bartonville, Texas. And I'd like to begin by saying, what do you think of when you hear the word appraisals? Now, I feel like most people, you think of your home and your property because you have it appraised each year, and you know you pay a certain amount of taxes on it. So that's what comes to mind. But there are all kinds of appraisals, and you probably have other property that's been appraised also as part of your insurance policy. Well, I want to introduce Richard Yerxa, who's been doing appraisals for many years, and have him tell you how did you get into the appraisal business?
Well, I started out with jewelry appraisals. The insurance industry, they didn't really have any standard for jewelry appraisals acceptance, and they were underwriting departments were paying claims, and they were accepting appraisals on things that just weren't properly described. Well, we started out doing a little bit more description on the appraisals, and which actually gave us correct values, so that if an insurance company had a loss, they were paying correctly on that loss. And so we started with just jewelry, but then we moved into some other areas as we started doing appraisals. People, as we went to the homes, they would have artwork, and then we started seeing antiques and furniture and collectibles and jewelry and silver and china and all types of things. So we started doing a lot of the appraisals on that. So that's why we just diversified. But it actually worked out quite well. There are very few people that do multiple categories. Most people just do one or two categories. We do a lot of different categories, and we're set up to go on site, or we can have people come to us. So that's basically how we started out, and we've been doing that now for about 35 years.
And during that time, or before that time, you owned some jewelry stores?
We did. We had jewelry stores in Dallas and San Antonio and Houston, and we had a store out of state as well. We catered to where the insurance companies had the most losses, and in Texas, of course, is where we live. We concentrated in the Dallas, Houston, and Fort Worth areas.
Very good. So if a person has art objects or jewelry or something like that, and let's say they haven't had it appraised, or they haven't had it appraised in a long time, what would they do? Contact you, and then you would come over and you would do a new appraisal?
Well, usually what happens is the client or the customer would contact their insurance agent, and they would say, I have an expensive piece of art, or I might have a collectible over there, a ship, or whatever it might be, an expensive piece of jewelry. A lot of times the insurance agent, when they underwrite the policy, will say, well, do you have any expensive piece of jewelry? Do you have any silverware? Do you have any art? Things like that. And the client would say, yes, I have some of these things. And the insurance underwriting department would say, well, we need appraisals on those type of things. And that's what we do.
Well, that's interesting. And you and Jeannie work together in this business. I guess we could say that you guys are like a power couple, in the sense that you work up together, and she goes with you on the appraisals, and she handles the business side of it, I understand. Can you tell us, Jeannie, how you add to this appraisal business? What component do you offer?
Well, originally, Richard was doing the appraisals just by hand, and it was very time consuming. And he told me he thought he needed maybe a program written to do the appraisals. Well, I worked in the IT department for Halliburton, and I said, wait a minute, I think I can customize something for you just with a standard software package, so that will do the appraisals much more efficiently. So I worked a lot with designing the layout of the appraisal forms, and the way it does the calculations, and I've worked up various macros and all to do the appraisals much more efficiently. So now that Richard has that going for him, he can do the appraisal much quicker, And so I help him a lot with working with the customers, scheduling the appointments, helping the customers decide what they need to get appraised and so forth. So really more from that standpoint.
Well, and so, can you tell me, what are some of the types of things that you appraise? Tell us something a little more unusual than the typical, like jewelry or an art, an oil piece or something like that. What other types do you appraise?
Well, absolutely. We get in a lot of things. Aside from jewelry and art and antiques, furniture, collectibles. Sometimes we get into people's homes and they'll ask us to come in there and just look around and see what do you have in the house. And Jeannie and I will walk through the house and we see things that are kind of unusual, expensive things. And if your house burned down and it burned up and you said, well, I had a statue over there, or I had a collectible, or I had something kind of unusual, what's it worth? And then, well, it's worth $25,000. Well, the insurance company might really have a bit of a problem with that. But if you've got an appraisal, something that an appraiser like me has been there, looked at, documented, and written a description on it, then the insurance company is pretty much going to have to go by that. So that's the type of thing we do. We kind of look around and we see what folks have, and a lot of times people have very expensive things in their homes that they're not even aware of until we get there and we look at it and we say, you know, that's something that needs to be documented. And our whole thing is we do it right there on the spot. We don't have to leave and go and research and do all that type of stuff. We're able to produce that appraisal right there on the spot. So when we leave, we print it. That person's got a copy of exactly what we looked at, what we appraised it at, and it works out very well for the insurance companies.
So over the years, with your experience, you've developed a very keen eye. So you're able to look at a piece of jewelry or an art object, a sculpture or an oil painting or a piece of furniture even, and you're able, with your experience, to go over that a few minutes and know what the value of it is. I don't want you to look at my watch, for example, or anything like that, because I would, because I don't think it's the type of thing that you would usually appraise. But can you tell me what was some of the largest pieces of jewelry that you ever appraised?
Well, I've looked at many pieces of jewelry that are in the $200,000-$300,000 price range. And most people don't understand that you have a very limited amount of insurance that comes through your policy. And unless you have that stuff scheduled, the insurance company has a limit as to what they're going to pay. If you lose it, then and anything over and above that is really, the insurance company's not going to pay you for it. But speaking about expensive things, we've been time before, numerous times to people's homes that thought they had things very expensive, and we got there and informed otherwise. And
oh, I bet that could be that could be really embarrassing.
It really was, but yeah. You never know. You know, a lot of times people come with hand-me-downs. You know, Mama, my family told me this is worth a lot of money, until we get there and they just say, we're the bearers of bad news. Ooh. In some cases. But in a lot of cases, most cases, we get there and say, you have something very expensive, that needs to be documented. We write the appraisal up, and by golly, they can inform the insurance company they have something very expensive.
And it's better really for them to know.
Absolutely.
Because if they're going to have it insured, they want to know the value of it, because they're going to pay for that to the insurance company. Of course, the insurance companies want to know that the value is correct as well.
Absolutely.
How about oil paintings? You've done those as well. Have you come across some of the masters?
We've well, we do a lot of oil work. We've appraised a number of pieces that the individuals had no idea what they were worth, and they thought they had something worth several $100s, which is really didn't even cover the frame, and the oil piece itself is worth in the tens of thousands. So that's kind of what we do. We come into the people's home and we look at stuff, and we just have the ability to walk around and look at, or they can ask us. Now we've developed a system that is very inexpensive, and we're able to walk around and do this, so people utilize our service to walk around and tell them, what do we have in this house that the insurance company needs to be aware of? And so we're able to pick out things and look at, and that works out quite well for the customer.
Well, Richard and Jeannie, I want to thank you guys very much, and I want to ask you, how does a person contact you if they wanted to, for example, get an appraisal?
Well, actually, we, years and years ago, we got rid of all our landlines. We operate strictly by cell phone. They can call us on our cell phone. It's,
If you want to, sure, you can.
And you're also on LinkedIn.
yeah, on LinkedIn, or they can just go to Google the name Richard Yerxa. You know, it's Richard Yerxa, Y-E-R-X-A, 214-739-3906.
All right, well, that works then. So I want to again thank you, Richard and Jeannie Yerxa. I think you certainly do represent a power couple from North Texas, and thank you for welcoming us into your home, if I could speak here. By the way, this is an excellent wine you must have appraised also. I appreciate this cab.
I'm sure it's
Very much.
$300 a bottle.
Well, thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure.